waiting for our foot to appear. And it's up to you to play here, whatever you do, if you stack, if you flip. And we'll all come back. And instead of mountain climbers this time, let's do knee tucks. So those give us a nice big twist. So we take left knee underneath towards the right armpit and back, and then switch right knee underneath and back. And we'll do that just 10 more seconds. So alternating knees, 10. 4, 3, 2, 1. Left leg lifts. Pass it between your hands. Lunge position. So once you come up and expand, lifting up, it allows the breath to fill you. So just take your arms up. Big inhale, big exhale. Filling up, catching your breath, bringing the heart rate down. And let's move right into our twisted lunges. Inhale, lift. Exhale, prayer twist left, dropping towards right knee. Inhale up. Exhale, prayer twist down. And one more. Inhale up. Exhale, prayer twist down. Now tucking right toes under and lifting up so the knee is high. Tweak the pose by seeing if you can lift the torso, drawing the thumbs more towards center. And now we move into our tacks. So try to be a little more stable than I am today. And see if you can draw the right leg forward with nothing else moving. There we are in twisted chair. Send it back. Again, forward and twist. Now back. And then last one, forward and twist. And take it back. Beautiful. Nice job. From here, lowering right hand down, lifting up into revolve triangle. So again, tweaking and adjusting as you need. Maybe it's a block underneath the right hand, inside or outside. And if you don't work with blocks, you can simply lift the hand higher on the shin and twist. Making sure the twist is coming from the torso, not just the shoulders. And if it's okay, drishtis to the left fingertips. All right, now let's think about half moon pose revolved. So block or not, right hand shoots forward, it's a good 18 inches, and then lift up. So there's still this big twist to the left. Finding softness in the breath. And that left glute is getting a lot of good work today. And now, you don't need the block for this, half moon pose. Excuse me, warrior three pose. So we release it, internal rotation, right thigh, body and leg parallel to the floor. And ready, step it back. Coming all the way to the back of the mat. Think big toe pose. If you're not doing big toe, just take the knee. Inhale. Exhale. 2 more. And then trying to be aware of maybe what category of hindrances you're falling into right now. Like, I wish I hadn't come to class today. Or, I love this. All right, we let go, point the toe, come right back through our revolve triangle, no block. So if you need to, bend the knees a lot to get that right hand firmly planted on the floor. Pivot both toes to the left. Left arm lifts. Inhale, lift. Exhale, lower. Inhale, up. Exhale, down. Take this last one up and down. Now coming back up, you can choose to stay just like this. This one's a little different. Otherwise, we take the T shape. And these we only do 4. Come back, chaturanga, lift up. Pivot to the right, T shape. Come back, chaturanga, pivot left. Come back, chaturanga, pivot right. I believe this is our last one. Come back, chaturanga, all the way down to the floor. All right, this is where we get our rest. Sphinx pose, open the heart, lifting up, inhale, and exhale. Once again, we'll take the hands right to where the elbows were, squeeze in, and let's take cobra test pose, making sure toenails are touching the floor. Take your hands off the floor and lift your chest. Try to leave the toenails touching and try to see and become aware and recognize what muscles are actually lifting your spine. Now keep those in mind, touch back down, still using those same muscles. Add arm strength to lift a little bit. Squeeze the elbows in and then lower down. Let's create a pillow and take a little break. Nice deep breaths, and in this break, in the stillness, is where you start to pay attention to the 5 hindrances. What are you feeling right now? Desire? Maybe you don't like the yoga poses I chose today. Maybe you're feeling fatigue. You didn't sleep well last night. Maybe you're angry today. Maybe you're a worrier. What's the 5th one? I always leave one out. Let me see what that one is. Is desire, anger, fatigue, worry, and doubt. Doubt's a big one. And all we're doing right now is taking note of what it might be. All right, come on back. Let's take our arms out for airplane wings and then lift again by pushing the feet into the floor first. Now lift the feet up. And even though you don't have a mirror, or maybe you do, or a teacher to show you, play with lifting the feet higher and then taking the chest up. So we try to get the feet and the shoulders in the same line. Let's do one more. Lift everything as high as you can and lower down, making your pillow. Allowing the heart rate to come down. And then start to notice again the 5 hindrances. And this time you can say to yourself, all right, now I know what's coming. And so I'm going to laugh at it, or I'm going to make light of it. It's not that we don't validate it. These feelings are true. And Sylvia Boorstein and I agree on something, that it's probably engraved in us evolutionarily. So these are true feelings, but we have the option to change the habit of how we react to them. Let's come back up, and we're just going to do some, make sure I'm not going to hit this thing, some little swimming here. So we extend the arms long. First, come up to your fingertips tented and lift your heart up. Tuck your toes under and see what you can find here, just lifting up. Then see if you can keep the shape, take the feet up, take the arms up, and we paddle with our heart lifted, opposite leg, opposite arm. Just going up and down, up and down. And we'll do 3, 2, 1. Don't come all the way down. Find your tented fingertips again and tuck toes and lift up. And now exhale, finding your pillow, resting. And see if you were aware of the hindrances, and did you change your mind? Like I like to say when I'm doing these kinds of poses, you know what, I might not like them at the time, but they're so good for me and I like the results. So we're kind of switching the way we respond. All right, let's take a mini bow pose. We really didn't warm up a lot in the back. So as you come up, walk your knees together. If you have your strap, maybe today would be a good strap day, or maybe today you're not going to connect your ankles. You're just going to lift like this. But if you are connecting, go ahead and lift up, finding a sense of opening in the whole front side, paying a lot of attention to your lower back. Soft breath. And lower down. We'll take 2 breaths before we round the spine. Not around the spine today, just roll off to one side and come to seated. We'll hug the knees in, even lifting the feet off the floor, and then pull the belly in, tuck your chin, and round down as if you were going to take the forehead to your knees. Softness, going inside, pulling the belly in for protection of the lower back. One more. All right, coming back to neutral, extend legs long, shake them out. Pulling toes back, big inhale to roll the shoulders up and back, and big exhale, hinge forward. Peace fingers to the big toes if they reach, and if they don't, that's fine. Just stop along the way. Wherever you are, come up halfway, fill up, and then exhale, hinge forward. Lifting kneecaps, pulling belly in, and working with your knowledge breath. So the idea of not allowing the hindrances to overtake us is that we clear the chitta. We clear all the stuff around the mind so that we can see everything as it truly is and live in truth. Make your way back up. Walk your fingertips behind you, either bent legs or pointed toes. So that would be either reverse table or Purvottanasana. Lifting up, stretching the whole east side, the whole front side of your body. And then come back down. And we'll take the right leg, cross it over the left knee, and take a twist to the right. Pulling into this whole right glute that we worked earlier. Twisting, looking over the right side. And take one more. All right, let's drop the left knee on top for half Gomukhasana, pulling the left toes back. Left arm on top for eagle once or twice. Inhale to lift up. Exhale, hinge forward, maybe resting right above the knees on a block or at the knees or over the knees. Dropping the head down. Feeling the glutes stretching, feeling the hamstring. So we want to expand our awareness in the body from the breath to every other sensation. Now make your way back up. We'll release the arms and move into Janu Shirshasana. Right leg is bent, left leg is long. Inhale, lift. There's the slightest shift to the left. Then exhale, hinge over left foot. Left leg. And again, it's always a nice idea when you get into where you think your resting place is to lift up halfway, reassess. See what your body's doing here. See if you're keeping integrity in the pose, and then exhale. Make your way back up. We'll shift a little bit to the right, allowing the right knee to open for Parivrtta Janu Shirshasana. Checking into left toes, make sure you're still active by pulling left pinky toe back to the left hip. Inhale for lift, maybe on block or floor. Palm faces up on the left side. And first find your twist to the right. Just open up. Perfect place to hang out. If you're going deeper, right arm comes over just like that little side plank split leg thing we did. And we look underneath the right armpit. Now pay attention to right hip because it wants to lift up. And just for the purposes of this pose, we're leaving the right hip down. If you leave the right hip down, you can feel that tremendous stretch on the right side going into the back part, which is your quadratus lumborum. It's a nice thing to stretch. That gets real crunchy as we sit all day long. Come back up. We'll keep going to the right, extending right leg long, pulling both toes back now. Roll the shoulders up and back, and then exhale, walk forward. Finding whatever shape is good for you right now. It may be bent knees are better today, and maybe even narrowing. But work into something that you can feel a good stretch on both legs. And then make your way back up. If you have your blocks, grab your blocks. We're only doing this on this side. So we'll take the right block outside to the right of the leg. The left one stays inside. You push down, lift whatever you can off the floor, and lower back down. Then we switch. Opposite side. Oh, if you're like me, you get those cramps in your upper thighs. Push down to lift up and come back. And we'll keep switching. Right, lift, left, lift. Right, lift, left, lift. Go back and forth. It's about 8 times if you can. If you're using books, you're going to just have to go slower. Because the blocks are a lot light. And we'll do 3 to make sure you did each side evenly. Ditch the blocks. Come back up. Pivoting off to the left side for Hanuman now. So that may mean, for some of us, coming to kneeling on the right leg, left leg is extended. But if you're able to and you do the swivel, that's fine. So we didn't do too much intentional Hanuman today. So let's be super mindful about how we're working into this. Pulling left hip crease back, right hip forward. Activating Mula Bandha, that's the pelvic floor. So you can physically lift the pelvis here. And the action of squeezing the inner thighs towards each other also helps to lift the pelvic floor. Let's take another 2 breaths here. Hinge off to the left, or maybe you come out of the pose, taking the legs forward. Shake them out. All right, keep your block handy if you have it. Let's take Baddha Konasana first. Soles of the feet come together. Roll the shoulders up and back. Inhale here, look up, finding length. And on the out breath, hinge forward. So lots of different modifications. If you need blocks underneath your knees, that's great. You don't have to draw the feet in this close to the pelvis. You can let it be a little bit further away. Taking one more. And then make your way back up. So if you have your blocks, let's keep them handy. And we're going to extend left leg halfway long as we take the right leg as if to come over the shoulder. So it may not come that high. It may be right at the elbow. But I know a few of you out there have that ability to take the leg way high up. It's just easier if the leg is high up. But if the leg's down here, it's very doable. And we take our blocks outside of the left leg, and we're going to pull the blocks in as if they were chaturanga distance. That's not very far. Push down to lift up. Find your soft breath. And lower back down. Shake it out. Pulling toes back. Hands on top of the thighs now. Roll the shoulders up and back. Big inhale, lift up. Slide your hands down the tops of the legs and then halfway. And then lift back up. Roll back with the heel of your hand. So we're trying to push into our quadriceps. Inhale, lift up. Exhale, slide down halfway. And we'll do it one more time. Lift up. Pushing heels of the hands into the quads. And then last one, slide it down as you push. We stay here this time. Extend the hands along the top of the leg until they can go no further. And stop there. If you're able to, hands come over the toes. We pull the toes down towards the top of the feet. Wherever you are, take an assessment breath as you lift up halfway. And then release forward again, finding that place that works best for you right now. Working with the breath. And let's make our way back up. And we cross left leg over. Nice twist to the left, and you can exaggerate it by pulling that left knee in towards your chest, and you'll feel that on the outer left hip. Look over your left shoulder. And then maybe you can switch whatever you're thinking here if you're not happy and smile. Sometimes the smile sends a message to your brain that you're happy anyway. Again, not that we don't validate whatever's going on, but we certainly don't have to sulk and live in it. All right, let's come on back center. And we'll turn this into a half Gomukhasana by letting the knees come on top of each other. Right arm on top once or twice for eagle pose. Lift up. And as you exhale, finding a resting spot for your elbows. Keeping active in the right leg, tucking chin down. And just go inside for a moment so that you can pay attention, so that you can become aware and feel the awareness expanding in your body all the way down to your toes even and your fingertips. So we start center just the way we do with metta, which is loving kindness. And then we expand. So ideally, we expand our loving and kindness, not just to the people we love dearly and that are easy to love, but ultimately to those people that we think we don't love. That's the tough one. Let's come on right back up. Left leg in for Janu Sirsasana. Big inhale to lift, slight shift to the right, and then exhale, hinge over the right leg. Always using your assessment, your knowledge breath. So what a beautiful way to practice living life, just right here on this little square mat that we have. And you do that right now by breathing in and paying attention, listening for messages, and breathing out and acting accordingly. Hopefully we take a breath before we speak so that all of our words are represented by the divine person we are. Let's come on up and expand open to the left. So we have the left knee opening up. Inhale for lift. Exhale, preparation. Right palm facing up inside, maybe on a block. Twisting to your left first, establishing that movement in your body, and then going deeper if it feels good. That would mean left arm over the left ear, and you're looking underneath the left armpit. So it's this big twist to the left. Coming back up, let's extend left leg long. So now we'll take our second set of the forward fold. We're not going to do the block thing, don't worry. But we have the option here to just take your regular forward fold or take the lifted legs. So the thing with the lifted legs is you still get a forward fold. It may be not as intense as the one on the floor, but we also work our stabilizing muscles. And that's in the core, back and the front. And now from here, try to keep integrity of the pose as if you're on the floor by pulling the pinky toes back towards the hip. And if you're on the floor, work that aspect. Take another breath. Maybe you look up here. Now keep the toes pulling way back for your soft, silent landing. We all meet on the floor for a half a breath stretch. And then make your way back up for splits. So again, maybe some of us just swivel and we're into splits over the right leg. But I'm betting that most of us have to come up to kneeling on the left knee, extending the right leg. And then maybe from here, let's just say this is your split. You work the integrity here by pulling the right heel back to the left knee towards the right heel. And then be aware of what that does to your inner thighs. And then be aware of what that does to Mula Bandha, the pelvic floor. So we want to pull in the pelvis. We want to lift up the pelvic floor. That ever-expanding awareness is something you may not have thought about before. Hope that wasn't a black widow. He had a little red spot on him. And keep pulling the hip back on the right side and pushing the left hip forward. And take another big breath. I wish I could bring this spider up to the camera. Oh, I don't want him to touch me. All right, take one more breath. Go outside a little bit. And then make your way back up. Hinge off to the right side. Swing the leg forward and shake it out. All right, staying exactly as you are. So legs forward. We'll roll onto the right hip so we look like this, little mermaid pose. Swing the left leg back and tuck the toes under. Now come down for Sphinx arms. You'll notice right away in Sphinx arms that there's a sense of relaxation in the lower back. And if it's not enough for you, then immediately just fold down onto the floor. And that should be good, okay? But if you want to play a little bit here, the trick here, the key is to leave this left toe tucked under because that's going to take an internal rotation into the left thigh, which is what we're looking for. And then you can play with where you want the right leg. Is it better close to the left foot or is it better high up by the hands? So this is a perfect place to hang out, either all the way on the floor or in Sphinx pose. Now, if you want to take it to the twisting part, the left arm needles underneath, and we look underneath the right armpit. Rolling onto left shoulder. May feel good to have a block underneath the left shoulder. Now in this contorted pose, you may start to have reactions. So this is what Sylvia Boorstein is telling us. That when something upsets our world, right away, the mind defaults into one of these categories. And maybe it is an evolutionary thing. Maybe it's meant to protect your body right here. And if you're having a sudden reaction, then maybe it's a good idea initially to back out and see what's going on. But if you start to notice that every time you go into a pose, you get that same reaction, maybe it's fear, and maybe it came from a time when you hurt yourself. And I think that's a good thing. I think there's certain things that happen in our bodies and our minds that protect us. But then maybe you can start to be aware of that and say, oh, here comes that funny feeling again. And if it's not something that's going to hurt you, then see if you can breathe into it. And tease it a little bit, joke with it a little bit. Say, oh, you silly thought, or you silly story. I have these stories that come to me at night that are just so absurd. And as I said, last night I had, oh, here comes that story again. So we just kind of make light of it, but again, at the same time, we always validate what the source of it may have been. Now, if you were twisted, let's start to make your way out. We'll lift up, drawing the right hand close to the right hip, preparing the feet for standing. So roll as best you can onto the soles of the feet and push down, lift up and open up. And then let's make our way back down. We'll extend the legs long again, shake it out. And now roll onto the left hip. So this is a little mermaid pose. Maybe you just hang out here. This feels good. Stretching that whole left side. Otherwise, we come down, we swing the right leg back, keeping the toes tucked under, and start with Sphinx arms. And if right away there is a little pain in your lower back, then that's it for you. You just drop down and you're going to be right there in the pose. Keeping right leg nice and active, the toes tucked under, rolling that inner thigh. So once you're here, if you're moving on, you play with the left leg. Where is it best for you to feel this nice stretch? And then decide if you're going to move on. And if you're moving on, the right arm needles underneath, looking under left armpit. Soften into the breath and see if you can sit with this contortion and let your body know that if it's just discomfort, you'll be fine. That's the desire one. We desire to be in comfort. We always want to be in places that we like. We want to get things we like and avoid the dislikes. So right now, maybe you are in the desire group. And as long as it's not hurting you, it's okay to sit through this. If it's hurting you, you do need to adjust. And that we call viveka, means keen discernment. And sometimes the only way you learn is getting injured, and I would hate for that to happen in this class. But pay attention, so we do know the difference between injury and discomfort. I've just got about 4 more breaths here. And starting to unfurl. And then walking yourself back up. We'll take left hand towards the left hip. Pivot the feet around so we're coming to where the soles of the feet are almost in standing. Push down to lift up and open and stretch. And then here we are, ready for Shavasana. Just come down to a seated spot, taking a happy baby, just evening out anything that might have gotten a little bit askewed. Did I leave out the left lifted side? I think I did. So I'm going to leave that up to you if you want to add your left leg over the shoulder and lift up. You can either do it now or after Shavasana. But for now, we're just in a happy baby unless you're doing that lifted pose. Softness. And then releasing the legs into whatever shape feels good for you for Shavasana. And it will just be, at the most, a 2-minute Shavasana. And while you're in Shavasana for the ending here, I'd just like to read one paragraph out of Sylvia Boorstein's book. And she's talking about why it's so important that we talk about these groups and the little things that we all have in common. She actually does lectures where she breaks people into groups, and she says it's important, the important part of talking to other people about the tendency of the mind to fill with one or another of the afflictive emotions, in addition to its being supportive and consoling, is that it makes it clear that the difficulty is a habit pattern open to change. And this is where she talks about the evolutionary sense of possibly these things being ingrained in us. And for instance, and she talks about this, out of 5 children, I'm the only one in the family who's a worrier. They all have something else. And so she goes on to say, it's a great relief to be able to accept one's own or anyone else's afflictive mind habits as the karmic consequence of complex, somewhat random, although always lawful circumstances. Genetics are amazing and karma is mysterious. Only one of my 4 children has intensely curly hair. Some of my grandchildren born in peacetime to healthy parents tend to fret. And this is due to a fact that she talks about earlier where she thinks she was a worrier because she was a child during wartime. Some of those very same grandchildren have siblings sharing their family experiences who don't fret. Who knows how these things get passed along through generations? The important thing is that emotional tendencies, unlike hair texture, can be modified. I know that from my own experience. And I have to add that I too see that from my own experience. I've been practicing changing my habits, changing my thoughts for years now. In yoga, we call that pratipaksha pavana. It's the replacing of positive thoughts in the negative thoughts. So let your homework this weekend be to try to identify where you default into, whether it is a genetic tendency or not, it doesn't matter. The whole idea is that you're able to change that. Let's go ahead and make our way up to seated. Drawing the hands to the heart, knowing that the ever expansiveness that we offer is to include people and animals that we may not think we need to include. It's so important, just like the awareness of our breath and expanding to all parts of our body. We must spread that love, not just to the ones we love, but to everyone. Everyone's due that love. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Namaste.